Strays, written, directed, and produced by Vin Diesel, also starring Vin Diesel. So, of course, I'm going to give my typical spoiler-free review of this film, but I also want to talk a lot about its backstory because anyone who knows the struggles of creating art can find this inspiring. I know that because I happen to be one of them. So, I've been a huge fan of Vin Diesel since the age of 10, when I first saw him in Pitch Black. I'm not really a fan of the guy films he's been typecasted in, Triple X and Fast and Furious can all be fun, but I'm more interested in the roles where he fucking acts, And yes, he can act. Pitch Black, Find Me Guilty, The Iron Giant, Saving Private Ryan, Boiler Room, they all prove that Diesel is much more than an action star. On a quick side note, he was also great in the first Riddick video game. It was simply incredible. In my eyes, Strays fits in with them as one of his best performances. Now, Strays is far too flawed to be a great film in my eyes, but it is special in many ways, and it deserves a lot more recognition. It was the catalyst that triggered Vin Diesel's success. He really did make his own luck with this film. You see, not a lot of people know this, but Diesel had been acting in theaters since he was 7, and in his 20s he just couldn't catch a break. So, in 1995, he spent $5,000 making that awesome short film, Multifacial, which was semi-autobiographical. It was praised and opened some doors for Vin, but nothing really special.
Now blast into action with the new Shark Cruiser with monster-biting power and fan-action traction. Head Shark!
So, he continued trying to make his own luck with this film, Enter Strays. He spent a year living on his friend's couch, writing the script, and he also spent that year working as a telemarketer, selling tools. With that job, he managed to save up $48,000 to make this low-budget piece. So production began. They had never done anything this big before, and they were learning as they went along. I mean, remember, this was 1997. It's not like they could just whip out their iPhones and look up YouTube tutorials on how to make independent film, There were no signs that this was going to work out. The stress was high, and like all independent productions, everything kept going wrong. Firing crew, hiring new crew, money running out, living on credit cards, and reshoots due to damaged footage. Man, we are so blessed with digital nowadays. Jesus, they even ran out of catering, so Vin Diesel fed the cast and crew with the cheapest pasta and baguettes he could get his hands on. And I'm saying it now, fuck being a chef on top of writing, directing, producing, and starring in your own self-financed film. But even more nerve-wracking is how they made the ending. No spoilers, by the way. They had 1 week left to shoot a ton of scenes, including the ending, but they completely ran out of money and only had 1 day left to shoot. After that, they had to close all production. Diesel had to quickly trim the fat and write an entirely new ending, shooting everything in just 1 freaking day. Talk about pressure. This is guerrilla filmmaking. And although I am curious to know what the original ending was, in my eyes he pulled it off, because I really like the way this story concludes and the feeling it left me with. But now let's talk about the film itself. Set in 90s New York City, Strays is a humble drama about Rick, a macho, drug-dealing womanizer who yearns to escape his shallow lifestyle. He begins dating a local woman who, in Rick's eyes, is just too pure for him, and he struggles to make it work. So, this film is grounded as hell. No action scenes or hostage situations, the threat of death, It's primarily about human interaction. Most of the characters surrounding Rick are one-dimensional and shallow, which would normally be a flaw, but here it just shows how groups of friends function when they're full of bravado. And that helps accentuate Rick's desire, his need to change. And their dialogue feels real, it's far from PC. They're sexist, homophobic, aggressive, and it unsettles me seeing how normal all of this is to them. It drained my energy seeing them get in the way of Rick's progression, but that is the point of them. And these actors, mostly new actors by the way, did a great job bringing these psychic vampires to life. It was awesome. Now what makes the love story stand out to me is seeing Rick change when interacting with Heather. It's a relief, like he's finally learning to express himself in ways he can't with his friends. I like watching him adapt to this new way of communication when he's with her. He's clearly vulnerable to her opinions, and bit by bit he reveals himself to her. It's all interesting to me. The problem is, the ugliness that he spent years embracing with his friends. Remember, he hasn't changed any of that, he's just buried it. And watching it slip out and put strain on him and Heather is painful. I really did get swept up in this little tale, guys. And Vin Diesel has a lot of meat to chew with these parts. He committed to this role, bringing a range of emotion to the screen. As I said, it's easily one of his best performances in my eyes. And I like the humble atmosphere of this film. No fancy cinematography, the camera is simply placed and the actors act in front of it. Very simple, kind of primitive, and I'm sure it's due to both budget and inexperience, but it does the job. It doesn't need anything fancy to get the point across, you know? And the sound quality just screams it's low budget. This is one of those films where the sound quality changes with the camera angle. You know the type. I don't think there's any ADR, all the sounds were captured on location. As a result, there are scenes where characters are talking on the street and the traffic going by is a bit too loud, kind of interfering with the dialogue. And their voices also echo very fucking loudly when they're talking indoors. And the music they add in post-production sounds quite odd when mixed with all this echoing dialogue, you know? But somehow, it doesn't take me out of the film, it kind of pulls me in a bit more. Having this humble story told to me with such limited techniques kind of does it for me. I guess I just find it charming. However, I have a lot of problems with Strays, issues that prevent me from seeing it as a great film. You see, with films like this, the environment itself is in many ways a character in the story. Think Boys in the Hood, Do the Right Thing, Friday, Kidulthood, White Men Can't Jump, you get it. But in Strays, you don't get a great feel for the environment. There's not enough outdoor shots, and most of the outdoor scenes are shot up way too close. And I'm sure that's due to budget, you know, that way you don't have to pay licensing for Coca-Cola or McDonald's signs in the background, but sadly, it just gives Strays a claustrophobic feeling, even when outside. I also find the love story kind of lacking. Heather is a bit underdeveloped, making her feel a little bit like a plot device. I understand what she's doing for Rick, but I don't get what Rick is doing for her besides his good looks and biceps. I liked her, and I wanted to know her more. Speaking of the love story, that's the main point of this film, seeing how it sparks change in Rick's life. But in between the scenes with Heather, we spend way too much time with the guy as being dysfunctional. Nobody is getting developed here. It just clutters up the story and makes the film feel so much longer. Like, I swear, about 25 minutes of this should have been cut. And if they did that before shooting, they probably wouldn't have run out of money and had to shoot an entirely new ending. And speaking of the ending, as I said, I do like it, but Diesel gives a monologue at the end that, although well performed, it just doesn't feel natural to me. It felt like Diesel only wrote this monologue to mimic big moments in other films and prove himself as an actor. Because I don't see the character Rick monologue in here, I see Vin Diesel. And these lines just feel a bit too movie, if you know what I mean, a little bit too poetic. But the biggest problem I had with Strays are the scenes where women swoon over Vin Diesel's body. Look, it doesn't happen much, but it makes me cringe every time I watch this film. At the start, women come up to him feeling his biceps and chest, and I can forgive all that. But then this happened. A shirtless Vin Diesel walks in with his impressive physique, sexy music begins playing, a woman, a stranger to him, this is the first time she's ever seen him, gets turned on by the sight of him, and instantly a frivolous sex scene begins. No, just no, I don't like it. I don't like this at all. The way the music plays when he walks in shirtless just... Look, when I first saw this back in 2012, I had to rewind it. I couldn't believe what I had just seen. This is bad for two reasons. One, Diesel wrote the script, meaning he wrote himself in scenes where women flock to him. I get it, he's handsome, he's got a great physique, he's got a sexy voice, I get it. But come on, it doesn't exactly scream humility. And two, it completely contradicts Rick's arc. This is 40 minutes in. By then, it's already been established that Rick hates this life and has fallen for Heather. But now he's back to sleeping with strangers again, with sexy music in the background glamorizing it. Yeah, look at him. He clearly hates this way of life. I know these scenes are short and few and far between, but Jesus, it never ceases to make me cringe. But thankfully, these issues didn't interfere with the film's success. They managed to premiere Strays at Sundance Film Festival '97, which alone was a major accomplishment, and it got praised there. Even Robert Redford went up to Vin Diesel and personally complimented the flick. That's crazy. So then word got around, and the Steven Spielberg got wind of Strays and cast Vin Diesel in Saving Private Ryan. And if that isn't crazy enough, Vin Diesel's role was specifically written for him. How does that happen? And the rest is history. Vin Diesel is now a household name. Incredible. However, this is where things get kind of odd. Despite Vin's success and popularity, Strays remained unknown, because after it premiered at Sundance in '97 to glowing reviews, it wasn't made available to the public. It wasn't played on TV, nor released on VHS and DVD. Strays was just a name us Diesel fans knew of but couldn't see. Until, made entirely as a passion project by Diesel, it finally got released on DVD in 2008, 11 freaking years after it premiered. And to be fair, it was worth the wait because the DVD is fucking awesome. There's a great behind the scenes featurette where the cast and crew share their experiences, and you can tell they're still proud of this film and love reminiscing on the experience. The funniest part of it is Mike Epps. Yes, Mike Epps was in Strays. It was his first film, and in the bonus featurette, he explains how cathartic it is to finally see this film come to DVD. Because for 11 years, no one believed him when he claimed to be in a Vin Diesel film, and he couldn't prove it. Now that the film's out on DVD, he can finally show it to his friends and prove that yes, this did happen. Isn't that nuts? So yeah, the DVD is cool, but I primarily collect Blu-rays, and I want the Blu-ray. Oh dear. There's no Blu-ray. It's only available on DVD and sometimes Netflix or Amazon Prime. That's it. Because this film still isn't well known. I've had enough of this, man. Look at the Wikipedia page. Is this a joke? Not even the full story is posted on here. And hardly anyone has bothered to give this a rating on IMDb, and all the ratings are low. It's just silly. Look, as I said, I don't think this film is great, but it deserves a hell of a lot more recognition than this, you know? So look, I'm gonna give Strays a 6.5 out of 10. And I hope you guys do check it out. The world seems to know about Vin Diesel, but they don't know that it all began with him saving up as a telemarketer and self-financing this little flick. He worked his way up from the bottom, and you know what? Him and his friends made the bottom look pretty decent. He deserves all of his success. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay jiggy. The Badger appreciates you.
Hand shark!